We've all heard loving friends and maybe our parents tell us don't compare yourself to anybody else because there's only one you. Well, that's really hard to listen to when you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you see the exotic vacations that some of your friends are going on and the new cars that other ones are purchasing. And then that one friend who has the overachieving kid who's won all of the medals and just made the dean's list again, right? And so sometimes it's really easy to feel like you're a hot mess. Why is life so grand for everybody else? And you're just sitting here scrolling through the Facebook feed, reading about everybody else's great life while you're doing nothing. It's so easy to fall into that trap of comparing yourself to other people. But today I'm going to give you 3 hardcore reasons you should never fall into that trap. They're not what you think. Plus, I'm going to tell you why you're not seeing what's really going on inside their lives, and I'll tell you what really are the skeletons in their closet.
GILD Coaching. More success, less stress.
Some of us were raised in a condition where we were constantly compared to other people. I'm the youngest of 4. I was always compared to my elder sisters because they made better grades than I made, or they cared about certain things better, or one was neater than I was, or one was more musically inclined than I was, and everybody was always compared to each other. If you're a parent, please don't do that. It's not fair to compare people to each other. It's like comparing apples and baseball bats. They have nothing in common other than their mass. They're objects. You and I have certain things in common just because we're human, but I come from a very unique background, and I'm sure you do too, and so there are things that separate us. We have different likes, dislikes, strengths, weaknesses, all sorts of things. So you comparing yourself to me, or my comparing myself to you, is completely nonsensical. Okay, so we know that on the level. But when you're scrolling through Facebook or you're checking everybody's super happy Instagram and Twitter feeds, it's really difficult to remind yourself of that on an ongoing basis, especially if you're having a down day, which even the best of us has once in a while. I have a couple of tools in the video description for you, so make sure that you check that before you head out. But before you even get that far, I have 3 stellar reasons to talk you into not comparing yourself to anybody else ever again. Here is number 1. Public relations is not just for major corporations, especially since the age of social networking has completely taken over and it seems like it's almost impossible to disconnect. Our public relations management systems are off the charts. And nobody tells you about the ways that they're not incredible. I mean, why would they? They don't want you to know that stuff about them. And when somebody does say something like that, it's either awkward or you kind of dismiss them as a little unbalanced. So remind yourself that everybody, whether they realize it or not, are on their own public relations mission. They are putting their best face forward. Look at me. This is not what I look like when I get out of bed in the morning, and I may not be the most beautiful woman in the world, but my hair's curled and I've got makeup on, right? The photographs of me on my website have been photoshopped. That's not what the models look like, the front covers of the magazine. It's all public relations. We want you to see us at our very best, and you want everybody else to see you at your very best as well. So remember, when you're looking at the things that people are posting on social networking, or even what they're presenting to you in public, you're not getting everything there. You're getting their public relations plan, which brings me to number 2. Part of a public relations plan is making sure that you are working off of incomplete information. Nobody wants you to know the difficulties that are in their lives. What's the fun in that? You're not putting that stuff out there. You're not talking about that publicly, probably. And neither is anyone else. So when you get into this mode of comparing yourself to other people, you have to remember, number 1, you're seeing their best public relations plan. Whether they realize they have one or not, they've got one. You do, and so do I. And number 2, it's incomplete. Because if it weren't incomplete, it wouldn't be a very good public relations plan. So understanding that everybody has a personal PR plan, my question is, what are they not telling you? I'm going to tell you a story of a friend of mine. Her name's not Lisa, but that's the name I'm going to use to describe it. She's the life of the party, sweet, sweet girl. All of her friends love her. We all want what's best for her, and she just really, really wanted to be in a loving, long-term relationship. And so a lot of us prayed for her with that. And one day she met somebody who just seemed like Prince Charming, just dream come true. He adored her, wined and dined her, spent all sorts of wonderful time with her, seemed to embrace all of us, all of her friends, and everybody loved him. He seemed to love everybody else. Very nice guy, was always taking her to beautiful places and just really treating her like a princess. And then he proposed, of course, because that came next. And they had this dream wedding, literally dream wedding. You just cannot even imagine the perfection of this day, right down to the very last flower petal. And we thought that was the start of her dream life with this Prince Charming. It looked like a dream, and let me tell you, that wedding was one for the record books. It was amazing, huge, gorgeous flowers, the best of everything. She was just gorgeous. It was just perfect. And that is when her own personal hell started. I'd like to take a break from her story for just a second to say, if you are in an abusive relationship, I'm going to put a number on the screen right here and a website address. There is confidential help. There is a way out, because that is what started as soon as the vows were taken. And this is a very near and dear story to my heart, because the same thing happened to me in my first marriage. If the highlight of your day is the fact that you weren't abused that day, or you're relieved that the person you're in a relationship hasn't emotionally or physically abused you in some way, that means that you're in a rotten relationship and you need help. So please use the website address or the phone number that's on the bottom of the screen and get help. Back to Lisa's story. It was a wedding for the ages, and that is when her life of abuse started. But if you follow her on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else, you wouldn't know it, because all that she shows you is the awesome stuff. There's only a handful of us, her very closest friends, her innermost circle, 3 people actually, who know what's going on inside that house. She's making the choice to not leave. We don't necessarily agree with it, but we're doing what we can to support her in her situation. But all that you see is a bunch of really awesome stuff. They travel and custom order special luxury vehicles. They have the best of everything, and she still looks like she's getting treated like a princess, being flown off on all sorts of vacations. Her husband has a very lucrative business, and he travels a lot and takes her with him to all sorts of countries. I don't know a continent that they haven't visited in the last 24 months. Well, other than Antarctica, I suppose, they are always going somewhere wonderful, and she's posting these pictures of these great places with smiles on her face. And you wouldn't know that a lot of her exploration in these places is alone, and she is still left wanting that loving partner, that loving participant there beside her. She gets all the jewelry she wants. He's actually taken her on a special trip just to buy her jewelry. And they've built this huge, wonderful home and bought a vacation home, but it's all a front. It's not real. So always remember that the answer to that question, what is everyone not telling you, is plenty. There's plenty that you're not seeing. You never know. No one outside of Lisa's very tight-knit circle of friends, there's 3 people who know the truth, as far as I understand, only 3 people, because she's ashamed and she's hiding behind this false facade. She says that she's ashamed she had this huge wedding and was so happy, and it makes her look like an idiot. No. People out there aren't telling you the truth of their reality, and you're comparing yourself to something that's not real. Just stop, because you don't have a reality with which to compare yourself. If you're comparing yourself with what you're seeing other people do as you're just observing them casually and for tiny little periods of time, or what they're posting on social networking, please let this be a wake-up call. You've got to stop. Stop comparing yourself. Here's your third point to take into consideration. You have a lot of stuff flying at you all the time. You're on information overload. You have the covers of magazines that are telling you what you should want to look like. You've got, those social networking feeds that we've already talked about. You have things that you see on the road. You have advertisements that you hear over the radio, over podcasts, over television. You have all of these messages fighting for your attention and telling you what you should be and should want and should do. Just stop. It's too much noise. Give yourself a break. Look at it this way. People come to me and trust me to help guide them in certain areas of their lives where I have experience. I have experience in these areas. I've got my stuff together. I'm a successful business owner, and so I have a little street cred with them. I don't have experience in other areas of life. I can't sell you real estate. I can't operate on you and help save your life. I'm not a medical doctor. There's certain areas of expertise I simply don't have. There are certain areas of expertise that you don't have. And so if you're trying to compare yourself to someone else, the comparison that I'm trying to make right now is you're not prepared with all of the information and knowledge that you need. And then you're also not prepared with the mindset that you need to make educated decisions at that point, because there's something wrong over here in this mindset area, and that is a major problem. I spend months with clients trying to correct their mindset problems, and we get a long way together, and many people come out from working with me on the other side and they look and see things that they couldn't do before or things that scared them, and now they can do them, and they're surprised because they would say, well, 12 months ago there's no way I could have done that, but today, because of this different mindset, I'm able to. And it's that environment of your mind. I talk about this, and you can check the video description below for a link so that you can download it. There's a freebie on my main website, gildcoaching.com, but again, the link is below in the video description, so you don't even have to go to the website. Just go straight down there. You can click it and download, and it's your personal environments organizer. You have 9 distinct environments, and one of them is the environment of your mind. And a lot of people think, well, those are my thoughts, those are my beliefs. No, that's actually your self-environment. It's a different environment. The environment of your mind is all the information that's coming at you at one time. Right now, some of the information that's coming at you is this YouTube video. If you don't have a membership to YouTube, maybe it's stopped a couple times in the middle and you've gotten an advertisement that has interrupted you, and then you've got a different message coming there. Maybe somebody walks into the room in a couple minutes and they have a t-shirt on with a message on the front of it. There are messages coming at us all the time. Information overload, and so you have to guard your mind. It has to be a major focus for you so that your mindset is in the right place. And when your mindset is in the right place, you won't find yourself in this comparison game all the time. And when you're not in the comparison game, your self-esteem is higher. And when your self-esteem is higher, you're happier. And that's what we want. Before you go, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and that little bell so that you'll know the next time that we upload a new episode to help you live a happier life with more success and less stress. I'm Dr. Jane with GILD Coaching, gildcoaching.com. See you next time.